let's talk about something that confuses a lot of people. And honestly, it confuses people right when they need clarity the most. Spiritual awakening versus depression. Because from the outside, and sometimes even on the inside, they can look very similar. You might feel disconnected, tired, withdrawn, unmotivated, like your old life doesn't fit anymore. And then you start wondering, am I awakening or am I depressed? So today, we're going to talk about the differences, the overlaps, and how to tell what's actually happening, without shaming yourself and without spiritual bypassing. Before we go any further, important disclaimer. Nothing in this video is medical or clinical advice. If you think you may be experiencing depression or anything affecting your mental health, please seek support from a licensed medical or mental health professional. Spiritual insight and medical care are not enemies. They can and often should coexist. Now let's get into it. Why this gets so confusing. The confusion happens because both spiritual awakening and depression involve loss. Loss of identity, loss of motivation for old things, loss of direction, at least temporarily. But here's the key difference most people miss. Depression collapses you inward. Awakening strips you down so you can expand outward. They may feel similar, but their direction is different. What depression often feels like. Depression is not sadness. It's numbness, heaviness, and depletion. Common experiences include feeling hopeless or trapped, loss of pleasure in things you used to enjoy, low energy that doesn't lift with rest, harsh self-criticism or shame, a sense that nothing will improve, feeling like a burden or disconnected from life itself. Depression tends to say, "This is who I am now. Nothing will change. There's no point." And importantly, depression does not bring clarity with time. It often deepens without support. What spiritual awakening often feels like. A spiritual awakening is not all bliss and light. That's one of the biggest myths out there. Awakening often starts as disorientation. You may experience a sudden or gradual loss of interest in old roles, jobs, or relationships, feeling like you don't recognize yourself anymore, emotional sensitivity or heightened awareness, periods of isolation, not from rejection, but from inner recalibration, a deep questioning of meaning, truth, and identity. But here's the difference. Even in the discomfort, there is curiosity. Even in the confusion, there are moments of insight. Even in the emptiness, something feels purposeful, even if you can't explain it yet. Awakening tends to whisper, something is ending, but something else is forming. I don't know who I am, but I know I'm not who I was. There's uncertainty, but not complete hopelessness. The energy test, a powerful way to tell the difference. Here's a simple question you can ask yourself. Does this state feel stagnant or transitional? Depression feels like being stuck in a dark room with no doors. Awakening feels like being in a hallway while the old room burns behind you, and the next door hasn't opened yet. Still uncomfortable, still scary, but not dead-ended. Another test. Depression drains your life force. Awakening reorganizes your life force. You may feel tired during awakening, but rest helps. You may feel emotional, but insight follows. You may feel lost, but awareness increases. Where they overlap, and this is important. Here's the part people don't like to talk about. You can experience both at the same time. A spiritual awakening does not make you immune to depression, and depression does not mean you're failing spiritually. In fact, awakening can surface unresolved trauma, grief, and nervous system exhaustion, which can look and feel like depression. That's why support matters. Grounding matters. Mental health care matters. Spiritual growth should not require suffering in silence. Red flags that mean you need professional support. Regardless of spiritual interpretation, please seek help if you experience persistent thoughts of self-harm or not wanting to exist, inability to function day to day, long-term numbness or despair, feeling unsafe with your thoughts, isolation that feels painful rather than restorative. Seeking help does not mean you're not awakened, it means you're human. So, which one are you experiencing? Here's the simplest way to frame it. Depression disconnects you from life. Awakening reconnects you to truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Depression closes the future. Awakening feels like standing in uncertainty, but sensing expansion ahead. And if you're unsure, that's okay. You don't need to label it perfectly. You just need to care for yourself honestly. Final thoughts. Spiritual awakening is not about suffering more. It's about becoming more aware. Depression is not a moral failure. It's a signal that something needs support. And sometimes the bravest spiritual act is not pushing through, but reaching out. If this video resonated with you, you're not alone. And wherever you are in this process, you're not broken. You're becoming.